Autumn is here. The silver birch grove is turning yellow, and it's time to start the fire, both outside and in. This is our fireplace in the bedroom before we flipped it, and during the flip. Big change. But with all the fire starting, we needed a place to store all the firewood. So on the side of the house where the shed is, where we also have some raised garden beds, as you can see, chilies were going nuts and giving away so much parsley. So there was a space here next to the fence that we thought would be perfect for a little wood shed in front of the other shed. The ground was a bit sloping in, which would actually help, I think, for the runoff of the water, and be convenient to the back entry of the house. Design-wise, we wanted to go steel and just do kind of a simple construction with a angled roof heading back towards the fence. Just something really simple that we could then just clad in timber, potentially in the back and also on the sides. Put a little tin roof on, you know, just pretty straightforward. And if we couldn't do all metal, then we could do like a blended, you know, metal and timber kind of frame, just screwing it all together, and then also doing the same kind of treatment of the lining boards. Which brings me to our neighbor Pete, who's been helping us out. He did a bit of a railing in front so I could get up on the roof and paint, and his wife Jenny then brought an old oak desk to me and said, hey, could you make some side tables? So I made some side tables for her as a thank you, and then he made us this. Just what we were kind of looking for. So this will be perfect to kind of fit in this area, and the legs below the cross beams will be buried and just cemented in, and then this cross beam here, that'll just be taken off after the concrete dries. But first, just getting some holes dug, which this is all clay, so it's really hard. So I started to do it and then just poured some water on it and let it set overnight just to loosen it up, which helps. Bit of a tip. And then just measuring just to get the measurements right, because we didn't want it to go too north of the fence to be too unsightly. And as you're seeing it here, of course it's backwards, right? So the lower side will be towards the fence, and then the higher side will be away from the fence. So there it is in. Then I'd show you how we concreted it in, but I don't know what happened to that footage. Anyway, we got it in. So onto the lining. I knew I needed some lining boards, and if you remember, if you had seen some earlier episodes, these doors that I took off from the barn doors, so I thought these would make perfect lining boards for the side. So first I just needed to take these apart, and these are all screwed together, so just unscrewing them, and then they just kind of all fell apart. Pretty simple. And just picking out the sticks that I wanted from my little stash here. Setting up my fence for the chop saw. Now this fence might be a bit too expensive for some viewers, so I don't want to turn you off by using really expensive equipment, but because I knew they were all going to be the same size, so I just needed to set up a fence, and then I could just mindlessly, but carefully cut all these down to size. That t-shirt, I got that t-shirt in Chiang Mai back in, I think we were in Chiang Mai in 2017, and in the same trip we went to Bangkok, and it was just such an amazing trip. But yeah, I like to take care of my stuff, so it's nice to have old t-shirts. It's quite faded, but brings back good memories. So then just screwing these on and stacking each one above the rest. I've intentionally left just a touch of a gap in between, just for a bit of character. Sierra's out there hanging out in the sun while I do my work. Yeah, drilling into metal, we just need to take it slow, and the bit will eventually go through. But you don't want to press too hard or you'll just ruin your bit. And then go in and follow up with just one screw each board, because the tongue and groove will keep the rest in place. And it's a woodshed. I mean, it can be a bit rustic and not too perfect, so I wasn't too worried about filling all the gaps and filling all the holes and making it absolutely perfect. But then getting up toward the angle, so I knew I needed to trim this last piece down just on that angled bit. So just making a pencil marker, I can do that, and then I could go back and jig one out and then drill it in on specific parts. And there you have it. I like how the paint from the barn door kind of turned out as this kind of cool pattern. I almost thought about just kind of doing that pattern when I painted it, but we'll see what I wind up doing. Then going over to the other side, rinse and repeat, basically. Drill, drill, screw, screw, tap, tap. Then we had this metal that was left over from when the pergola and the carport were installed, and the guys were like, "Oh, do you want this leftover metal?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So that's just been sitting around. So that turned out to make great flashing to go under the tin roof. So then Pete provided us with a bit of tin, and then he even made this, or had this little gutter ordered to spec, which is the perfect kind of miniature gutter, which just pours out on the right hand side. And then voila! Go to Monument Paint to go with the shed. And then I trimmed out the front of the boards. It's just an untouched kind of ripped piece of the barn door. And there you have it, protection from the rain. Dry firewood. I just love how it turned out. Goes nicely with the shed. And that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers. Bye.